My name's Alex.
My name's Tim.
And we are doing the dogfish shark.
Phylum Chordata.
Subphylum Chondrichthyes. So we already know sharks are in the Chondrichthyan subphylum. Chondrichthyans means cartilage fish. The skeleton of these fish is composed of cartilage impregnated with calcium. Ancestral chondrichthyans appeared about 395 million years ago, and there are about 1,000 living species today. So let's jump into the integumentary system. That would be this system right here, which is the outermost system, organ system that makes up the vertebrate body. It functions as a protective barrier to keep the animal separate from the environment. And these skin teeth right here, also called dermal dentricles, are designed to help the shark swim better by allowing the shark to flow through the water. The method of movement by sharks is controlled by the trunk and the tail, which propels them forward. This here dorsal fin, which acts as a stabilizer. And here we have a pectoral and a pelvic fin, both of which act in maneuvering.
Here are the gills. Their sole function is respiration and can be achieved when the shark opens and closes its mouth, allowing water to be pumped over the gills. The water enters the gills through the gill chambers, which are these little sections. Blood from the gill filaments, these tiny hair-like things here, absorbs oxygen from upcoming water. Water leaves through the gill slits. The gills contain a structure called gill rackers, which are cartilaginous projections that protect the gill's filaments from damage and particles in the water.
Okay, so here we have the lateral line, and what makes up the so-called line are small pores along the edge, and what these do is that these small pores lead to receptors which detect mechanical movements such as muscle contractions or anything that's causing a disturbance in the water. And it's a really good predatory adaptation for these animals, since this is really what they use to detect their prey. Here we have these structures called ampullae lorenzini, or just Lorenzini for short. They are patches of small pores, sort of like blackheads, and they're along the surface of here, which is called the rostrum. They help the animal detect electromagnetic currents. How this works is that when another animal moves a muscle, and what that muscle contraction does is it produces an electromagnetic current, which can be detected by the shark via these little Lorenzini pores. These structures can also help the sharks in identifying their environmental surroundings with things such as temperature changes, water pressure, salinity, etc.
Right here we have a model of the dogfish brain. Right here, this little yellow region up top is the cerebrum. The cerebrum functions in thought processing. Right here, these little blue sections are called the optic lobes. What they do is function in the vision of the shark. Next, right here, this little pink structure is called the cerebellum, which functions in movement. And then this white structure down here at the bottom is the brainstem. This darker yellow structure right here is the olfactory bulbs, which function in the smelling of the shark.
One of the major components to the circulatory system is the heart. Here's the heart here, the whole structure here, and surrounding the heart is a thick muscular walled cavity, which is called the ventricle. This pumps blood through the conus arteriosus to the gills and body. The conus arteriosus is this small, or rather thick, structure compared to this top is the conus arteriosus. This is what's on the top side is the ventral aorta. From the ventral aorta, you can see these small little protrusions. These branches are called afferent bronchial arteries. And what these function are is that from the ventral aorta, they carry blood from the heart to the gills, or that's deoxygenated blood from the heart to the gills. And these two structures here on the sides of the heart are called the atria, or atrium for just one singular. And what these do is that these pump blood to the dorsal ventricle. And on the underside of the heart, what this little small, sort of like a membranous sac almost, is called the sinus venosus. Blood is pretty much just held here until it's ready to be pumped through the heart into the conus arteriosus and then the ventral aorta, and then the deoxygenated blood goes to the gills from the small afferent bronchial arteries. Here's the esophagus, which is one of the main structures of the digestive system. This connects the mouth to the stomach. Many larger sharks are suspension feeders. However, the dogfish shark, as well as the majority of sharks, are carnivores. The esophagus contains structures called papillae, which are the mucosal lining which contain taste buds. So this whole structure here is the stomach, and it's separated into two regions, the cardiac and the pyloric. Here is the cardiac region of the stomach. This part of the stomach is attached to the esophagus, which is right here. The tissues are very muscular and stretchy. The cardiac region of the stomach contains structures called rugae that are ridges that help with mechanical digestion. So here's the pyloric region. It's obviously the lower region of the stomach. It contains the pyloric sphincter that regulates the passage of partially digested food, or also called chyme, into the intestine.
Here we have the liver, which is the largest organ in the body cavity. It has two main lobes, the right and the left, and the third lobe here in the middle contains the gallbladder. The liver produces an oily substance that stores the energy for the shark and helps the shark with buoyancy. The liver also produces bile, which helps in chemical digestion. Here we have the gallbladder. It's located in the middle lobe of the liver, and the function of the gallbladder is to store the bile produced by the liver. Alright, this structure right here is the spleen, which is attached to the posterior end of the stomach. The spleen is actually part of the lymphatic system, as its primary function is to produce and mature some blood cells. This little yellow structure right here is the pancreas. The function of the pancreas is to secrete digestive enzymes into the stomach, which help in chemical digestion.
So here, this little kind of bluish purplish structure here is the intestine. The intestine is very small in sharks. In fact, the whole structure here is just called the small intestine. There really isn't really a large intestine. It absorbs nutrients, of course, from digestive food. Within the intestine, there are these small, sort of like corkscrew-shaped little things. These little connective muscle tissues here. You can see them. They sort of go like this down little lines. They're called spiral valve. What these do is that they increase the surface area and prolongs passage of food through the digestive tract.
This structure right here is called the cloaca, and it is a single opening in the body utilized by the reproductive tract, the excretory, and digestive systems. Right here, these little parallel white lines are the kidneys. The kidneys function in the shark is of the excretory system. It produces the urine, which also helps sharks with their osmoregulation. Sharks are considered to be osmoconformers. However, their internal salt concentration is less than the environment. A result of that is the salt diffusing into the bodies, mainly through the gills. A unique structure of the sharks is that they are not hypoosmotic in seawater. Their tissues contain high concentrations of urea. Trimethylene oxide found in the body fluids is to protect proteins from damage by urea. The salt concentration of their bodies, their urea on their tissues, and the trimethylene oxide and other components found in the body fluids result in the osmolarity close to seawater but still slightly below. A result of that is water enters the body by osmosis and food and deposited into the kidney right here to be disposed of in the urine. Alright, this structure right here is the rectal gland. This structure helps the shark stay in homeostatic range by producing a fluid high in sodium chloride concentration, which helps in the osmoregulation of the shark.
This is a female shark. One way to determine the gender of the shark is to observe the pelvic fins. Males have long, rigid structures that extend farther than the females. Here are her reproductive organs. These are her eggs, which are fertilized internally by all sharks. When a male shark deposits sperm into the reproductive tracts of females through a pair of claspers on his pelvic fins, this shark is ovoviviparous. So after fertilization, the eggs stay in the oviducts and are nourished by the yolk sac, then move down to the uterus where they are hatched and ultimately born. Here is a fetus we have extracted from the uterus. You can see the yolk sac is still attached to the body. Over here we have another fetus shark that I will extract. Right now I am gently cutting open the uterus. And I'll just cut down here. As we see inside, the shark fetus is in here, and it also has its yolk sac attached. And it's bigger than its kin. And here's both of these. A similarity between sharks and other aquatic animals, such as the perch, is countershading. These organisms are lighter on their bellies in order to blend into the environment. If an organism is looking up at it, the lighter side of the belly will blend into the light from the sun. These organisms are darker on their dorsal side to blend into the environment. If an organism is looking down at it, the darker side blends in with the darkness of the water.
So again, here are the spiral valves right here in the small intestine. One difference in anatomy and physiology that sharks retain the spiral valve. As mentioned before, the spiral valve increases the surface area of the intestine. Spiral valves are unique to all of the organisms in the Chondrichthyes subphylum. As the evolution of animals progressed, organisms began to develop larger intestines and negated the need for a spiral valve.